Mike Contact here for another Zoltar disassembly video. This time we're going to take apart the ticket motor inside of Zoltar, and I was going to show you where the screws are. First of all, you'll take off the two trim pieces here, and you'll take off two shorter trim pieces, and they're all just friction fit. They weren't glued. Now, there is an exception to that rule about the glue. Some of these from the factory, when they got put on, I have found this on a couple of Zoltars I took apart. The little pins right here were broke, so what they had to do, so they wouldn't just be sticking out one side, or they would hot glue that from the factory. So the ones that are intact should have 3 pins, but sometimes you may find one that has one or maybe 2 pins missing, but then they hot glued in the holes here to hold that piece on, which doesn't really make any difference, because the spudger tool that I use, and I've talked about this before, this is stainless steel. It's you can purchase this from Amazon. Has very sharp end. Be careful with these. You don't want to slip, and if it slips and goes into your hand, you're gonna do some damage to your hand or whatever, because these babies are sharp, but they do a very good job. And this is what I used to take apart laptops with in the shop. I think they come in a pack of 5, and this is my first one. I haven't even wore it out yet. I mean, it's still good, and since they're made of stainless steel, they don't bend. They're very strong. But it works good for things like this as well, because you can get underneath and then pry sideways, pop one side, come down, turn the blade and pop it again, come down, turn the blade and pop the last one, and there you go. It'll pop those out. And if you did break a pin, you'll have to do just like they did at the factory. You have to put glue on it, some hot glue. Hot glue is fantastic. It has its uses, and it's would work well with that, of course. So I want to show you where there's 4 of the black screws. One was in here, one was in here, one was here, and then one was here. That's the 4 main screws. And then there are some silver ones inside here that were holding that ticket motor in place too. One was right here at the top, and there's one right down here at the very bottom, right below here. Take those 2 out, and then the motor will slide out. And then disconnect that from the main board here. That last one, I just got it sitting there so it comes out easy. So grab that and you pull it out. You'll hear a little click, and that little click, I'll explain what you're hearing if you take that out. Let me set this aside a minute. The little click that you would hear, and it may make you say, oh gosh, now what did I break when I pulled this thing out of here? You didn't break anything. That black bar that's inside the ticket motor that you use to release the tension on the rollers, this is the other black roller, and then this pin coming out right here is the one that black bar sits up on top of this. So when you push that black bar down, you see how it moves that roller? It's pretty strong. Those springs was pretty strong. And then this is what releases the tension, so you can actually feed more tickets into it, or do your realignment after you do put a set in, or realign the existing set that's in there. And when you release that black bar, then this roller will touch that soft roller that's on the ticket motor. And I'll show you that here. So I'm going to set the back on here temporarily, and I want to work on this white platform right here, because it's easier contrast for the camera to pick up when I'm taking these things apart. I'll move that over here a little bit. So here's the actual motor itself. This is the RC network that prevents electromagnetic interference back down to the sensitive circuits that are on the chips that drive it, the MOSFETs that drive these motors. There's 5 MOSFETs on the main board. There's 2 for each motor, and there's 3 for each LED zone, because there's 3 independent LED outputs. The top LEDs, and then your 2 lanterns, they have their own separate driver circuit too. And then there'll be 5 screws here on the top, and I've already taken out the 3. We'll take out the other 2. And I'll, spoiler alert, I've already done this once. I kind of like to get a little run through before I go taking this apart, but I guess that cuts down on the, well, if the thing threw out a bunch of gears when you pop the top off. You get that on a live video, but that's all right. And then just gently take this off, and then you'll see the individual shafts here will fit right back in these pins. Be careful here. There's quite a bit of lubricant in here, and that's good. That it will help the longevity of these nylon gears, and it also helps keep things a little quieter perhaps too. So we'll put that aside, and then we'll give you a little close up here of pull my light up, get that away from here, and we'll get so much glare. So I'll show you. Here's the gears, the top part, and then here's from the back side of the motor right here, and then around this side. But here's the soft rubber roller right here. This is just kind of like what's in your printer for the paper feed. This is it has a little bit of sponge to it, so when that other roller sits right here, it compresses that when that lever is up, and when you pull the lever down, that separates the bottom roller from this one. And like I said, that allows you to feed the tickets. And then so actually they had to step the gearing quite a bit here. They actually did quite a differential of gear ratios. Here's the main one that runs the roller, and they stepped it here, and stepped it once again, because the motor here lays in here horizontally, or vertically actually, when it's in the machine. And then this gear picks up the little gear here on the motor, and then that turns all this, and it's actually quite powerful when this motor's running at voltage here. I'll hook it up here, I'll show you. We're going to run her up at low speed, so I'm going to use my trusty variable power supply. My gosh, do I use this thing. I use this thing all the time. Let me get 2 more jumpers. It's that power supply is a I guess you would pronounce it Longwei, Longwei. There again, it's available at Amazon. It's 30 volts max all the way up, and 10 amps max output. It's a switching power supply, not a linear power supply. It's got a little bit of noise on the output. It's not bad. It really doesn't hurt anything. I haven't had any trouble with it really running any kind of even a sensitive circuit. But I noticed on the scope it puts out a little bit of noise. Oscilloscope puts out a little noise. So these I've measured the output voltage on these motors, and they are, when they're running full throttle, they're usually running about, I think about 4.1, 4.2 volts. So, but just to run this up here slow, because I don't want to run it too fast, because we take a chance of it lifting, this gear right here. So I'm going to start. There's about 1 volt right there. So shows you all the gears, how they're working here. So that's about 1 volt total. And it's nice and smooth, and it should be. And let's crank it up here a little bit, about 2 volts, and see what happens. And of course, I'm torquing that up, so it wants to raise this one gear. It's not going to have no way to hold that down, so but see, it won't stay down there. We'll run at that speed. So we'll have to back it down, push it down here. And any kind of load will push it up, because this gear, This gear wants to turn this way, so it automatically wants to keep pushing this horizontal gear up. That's the law of physics. So hold that motor down. But then you can see that that roller is turning this direction. It's pulling my finger this way. It's pretty sharp how they design it. Everything has to have its design to it. And then the next thing we're tearing into would be the actual Zoltar here himself. This one's been elected to be the one that's going to be taken apart. So we'll take I've already taken the vest off of them, but the rest of this will come apart. But that's going to be a later video down on the road here a little bit on taking him apart. But so here's the ticket motor assembly, and turn that down. Let's pick this gear up a little bit. We can pop this roller out. And that was another thing I was going to mention to you here too. A couple of these that I've taken apart, you see how that inductor just fell off? That's called the cold solder joint. They didn't get that soldered very good from the factory. Even though there's a solder blob right on this motor right here. They didn't get it soldered, so I will have to resolder that, because I noticed that inductor was just kind of moving around and flopping around a little bit, and that's about the second one I've seen that way. So like I said, if you're doing this stuff, hopefully you can solder, because some of these solder points, they can be a little delicate, but if that was soldered correctly, then it would never give you any trouble. But there's a little motor that runs it. I remember seeing a bunch of these when I was a kid, when I would take my battery operated stuff apart to see what made it work. So I haven't changed any since childhood. I always like to see what makes things work. That's just a curiosity that was ingrained in me, I guess, to do this kind of stuff, and I enjoy doing it and sharing it to other people. But this is a document in case we ever had trouble inside here. The motor, if the motor ever quit, then these are easily available. There again, Amazon, these little hobby motors are there, and to replace that if necessary. And then this will just set right back on. It'll line, everything's kept straight, it'll line right back up, it'll snap down. You'll see no gap here, and everything will be really tight fit, and then put your 5 screws back in. Slide that in. Now the tricky part of putting it back, the tricky part will be getting the lever on that arm back up above that pin. Remember that pin I showed you? Well, it's gonna be a little tricky. You have to be quick doing it. I'll put these 2 screws back in so I don't lose this in the process. I definitely don't want to lose that. Everything falls out, and it'd be a greasy mess anyway. But that is good to see it lubricated like that. That way will help those gears last longer. It's not like the thing runs at higher RPM or anything for any length of time. It only dispenses just for maybe a second or so. So let's get this around here. But the trick is, see your black pin here. See how this arm right there is where this pin comes through right here. So then when you push down on the arm like this, when you push that down, and that hole right here is where the pin comes through. When you push this down, then it pushes this roller down, releases the tension. So I'm going to try to do this. So we'll pull the wires back, and I'm going to get this started. And there's 2 slots it fits in to slide this forward. I got to take it back out to fix that solder joint anyway. So let's see if I can capture this on camera halfway decent. I'm kind of at a bad angle. So when you have it a little bit way out, if you can stick your fingers down in here and push, if you can feel that top roller, take one finger, raise let's get this around here, raise the black bar, take your other finger, push this other roller down, push it down, take your thumb, put behind that ticket motor, and we're going to do this in one sweep. You're going to be fast enough to get your finger out and fast enough to get this pushed forward. Just like that. And if you're quick, if you're not, see that? I mean, that's just because I was pushing down on that, but you catch your finger in there, it won't cut you anything, it may sting a little. But keep pushing that forward, and now you can see here that I have, now we're back. Let me get this around here where you can see it. Get the light down in here. Now you see the black bar is above that pin. So see how you push down and that releases that roller. That's your tension release right there. That's how that works. So that's pretty neat how they all set it up. And then put your 4 screws back on, put your trim back on. And then also while this is out, the coin chute is right here. Is this piece right here. That's pretty neat too. There's 2 optical sensors on each side. That coin literally rolls on its end. Let me get my tweezers, I'll show you. The coin actually stays on its side all the way down. So it stays like this, all the way down all this tube. That's why this one's narrow. And then it exits out right below here and then shoots down. And of course your little coin drawer is in here to collect, so when you pull that out, the coin sits in here. But that literally is rolling down there sideways all the way to here. Whoops. Oh, and it's easy to do that too. Flip that up. I got him. So that's how that works. It's pretty sharp how the whole thing works. And then this is basically, you can't remove this until you take out the ticket motor. Then there's 2 screws here to pop the coin sensor out. And there's 2 sensors on each side that shoot a beam across. And when you put the coin in, you're interrupting that beam just enough for the motherboard to say, okay, there was a interruption. It's just the same thing as pushing the free play button, except the coin did it. You basically coined it up. It's pretty sharp. They a lot of attention to detail here. That's pretty neat. So anyway, that's the video on the ticket motor disassembly and putting it back. I think the most important part is showing you how to put it back, because if you don't get it right, then you won't get this bar lined up here, and this will just flop around, and you'll never be able to release the tension on that to put in more tickets or do anything with it. But that's how that works right there. Okay, well, thank you for watching my videos. There's going to be more coming, of course. The next one I'd like to do would be the disassembly of Zoltar here internally. Take him all apart and see what makes him tick internally. Should be interesting. So, thanks again. Talk to you later.